Hey everyone, welcome back. Our last guest is a Bangladeshi American poet, feminist, writer, community organizer, and activist from the BX. Through her poetry, she shares words of pain, resilience, and love while in the same breath fighting for justice oriented change. She is the co founder of the Bangladeshi Americans for Political Progress, advocating for legislation that protects and advances low income communities. She is the co founder of the Bangladeshi Feminist Collective and founder of the Bronx Mutual Aid Network, an initiative that was created to help those that were most vulnerable during the COVID-19 pandemic. She's a recipient of the Bronx Recognizes Its Own Award. Her work has been featured at Bowery Poetry Club, New York Poets Cafe, Asian American Literature Festival, and she's here with us today, joining us to share more. Please welcome poet, feminist, writer, community organizer, and activist, Thahitun Mariam.
Thank you so much, Rhina, for having me here today.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. You're in the first episode of the year. So thank you for being part of our inaugural year.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor.
and um I really love that we're going to be able to talk about one of the many cultures that are prominent within the Bronx. And so let's just talk a little bit about the Bangladeshi American culture within the Bronx first. Let's talk about that because I mean it's predominantly like Parkchester is predominantly Bangladeshi American, right?
That's right. That's right. So, I this is what I love about the Bronx. There's so much diversity here, and yet a lot of people that aren't from here tend to not know about how much diversity there is. The Bangladeshi community in the Bronx has been here for a really long time now. Some of the earlier migration happened in like the 70s and 80s. And then the larger migration happened in the late 90s, around the time that my family came to America. And actually, we were in Queens for 2 months, and then we ended up in the Bronx. So I've been in the Bronx since 1997. My community is around Parkchester. That's like where the large hub of Bangladeshis are in the Bronx. But there's also a small community of us in Norwood. So it's a little bit spread out. A lot of working class people working in different sort of immigrant jobs, right? Working in the fast food service job industry, working as taxi cab drivers, of course, and now Uber and Lyft. So a lot of working class people in our community.
And so you, as an activist, right? Because I want to talk about your activism first, just because of these, all of these different movements that you've either co-founded or founded, right? So
Mhm.
let's just start with the Bangladeshi Americans for Political Progress. So the politics of the Bangladeshi Americans and being a voice for them, and what your origins are, and what I guess moved you to even create this.
Well, so I've, been an organizer for a really long time. I started my journey when I was 13 years old. And it came from this realization that if we aren't involved in politics, if we don't make our own decisions, decisions will be made for us. And it's something that I've seen really closely working with nonprofits, working in government in New York City. And it was really important to form a political group back in 2019 when we formed Bangladeshi Americans for Political Progress, because we really wanted a space where progressive Bangladeshi voices come to the forefront that are fighting for housing justice, fighting for free healthcare, fighting for more access to parks and schools and better education for our community. And we really felt that voice was missing in New York City politics for Bangladeshi Americans. And so we decided to organize a group of us, about like 20 of us, who came as a coalition and formed this group. We've been pushing forward a lot of work around electoral politics. So we've been pushing progressive candidates who support not only our community, but communities of color and working class communities, to make sure that we're able to live dignified lives, to make sure that we have access to all these amenities that do exist within the US, but often due to a lack of language justice or, a lack of social awareness or political awareness, people aren't able to engage with a lot of these resources. So
It,
it's really important for us to like make sure that we're doing that work for our community, and not just our community, everyone.
yeah, and that's a wonderful segue into, just you mentioning dignified lives into what inspired you to found the Bronx Mutual Aid, right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, I don't really like going back, but I think it's important that we do discuss what we've all overcome
Mhm.
pandemic, and in some aspect, as much of a horrific experience it was for all of us, how it benefited us in some form,
Mhm.
right, in building community, which is what you did, right?
Yeah.
Well, you founded it, and you enrolled other people, and before you knew it, you were operating like a village.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. It became like that. Honestly, yeah, we need to talk about the hope and the resilience and the beautiful moments of surviving through COVID-19 pandemic. And honestly, being from the Bronx and organizing in that like pivotal moment really made me love the Bronx a lot more, because people really pulled through. People who had access to cars were like, well, we want to help deliver groceries. Young teenagers who were like, well, we're bored at home because school is not in session and we want to safely help package groceries. So we had over 250 volunteers actively participating in our mutual aid operations to deliver groceries, to deliver medicine, to provide small financial mutual aid. So we were able to also help undocumented families who were facing eviction during the pandemic. So people really pulled through, and those who couldn't show up in person showed up with their coins. They made sure to help us fundraise. They made sure to let people know that this initiative was going on. So it's really beautiful to see how the community pulled through in this like really scary moment in the world.
Yeah, and it's beautiful that you were able to have the insight to even form it, right? Because it
Mhm.
started with your seed and then it blossomed, and I just really wanted to tap into that just a little bit, because I think it's important for us to start having conversations around what came out of it that benefit us, because
Mhm.
we're dealing with a mental health crisis right now, and so
Mhm.
if we steer the conversation in the areas of like, what, but this is how we were able to become one, right? Because there's
Mhm.
unified effort in where at that point it really didn't matter what color, creed, or race, or religion, or anything you were. It's a
Ethnicity,
matter of
none of it mattered. Politics, honestly, even politics was kind of thrown to the side during that moment, because it's like, I don't care if you're Republican. If you need food, we're gonna bring you food. I don't care, what your belief is. As long as you need assistance, we will provide that assistance. And that's the beautiful thing about mutual aid. I think it's a term that a lot of us didn't really understand or engage with, but it's something that exists in so many like communities of color. And just like I grew up seeing that if there was a funeral that happened in the community, all of like my aunts and my father and my mother and everyone fundraised to help that family out. So that's mutual aid, right?
right,
That's something we grew
right.
up seeing and knowing from a really young age.
No, and it's beautiful, and yeah, we're here for it, and so this leads me to your next co-founding movement, which is the Bangladeshi Feminist Collective. Which, by the way, I
Mhm.
go around saying the future belongs to women. All right,
It's
so
true. It's
yeah,
true. That's why they won't let us in power. That's why they won't let us be president of this country yet.
but that's why you formed this group.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's why they're trying, but it's inevitable as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Bangladeshi Feminist Collective, it was formed actually as a result of us, a, kind of around the time of Trump, and seeing how he was speaking about women, seeing how he was, there was not really regard for women's rights in this country, and definitely not immigrant women's rights. And I think through our collective, we've been able to form community. Forming community, being in community is something that's so integral to who I am. It's how I have found a place in the world. It's of how I've found a place in the arts, right? Making sure that I'm connecting with people, and these relationships are really important. So through the Bangladeshi Feminist Collective, we've been able to create an intergenerational space where there's Bangladeshi women from different facets of their lives, and connecting to help engage in pushing forward what their dreams are, right? And having these conversations and making sure that women and Bangladeshi women are included in the conversation when it comes to thinking about what a just future looks like, for people in the city, people in this country, people in the world.
That's beautiful. And so that's wonderful in a wonderful way for us to lead into your artistry, because obviously you convey a lot of these messages through the power of word, as a writer, as a poet. And for me, it doesn't get any more powerful than that, because you were declaring it into the universe.
Mhm.
So before we go, because I know you're going to perform for us, which I'm
Yes.
really looking forward to, let's just share a little bit behind the inspiration in your writing.
The inspiration, yeah, I appreciate this question. It's something that's important to me. I think when you do any form of heavy work in the world, right? And organizing, tends to become heavy in a way that is unexpected sometimes, because it's not just about delivering groceries to someone. It's about the person who's on the receiving end of it and what they're going through. Often during COVID, we were speaking to elderly people who just lost their spouse of like 50, 60 years. And, that loneliness and all of those emotions that come with any human interaction. A lot of that heaviness is what helps me to translate into words, into processing, and my career as an artist, as a poet, helps to process a lot of the difficulties that I face when it comes to organizing and etc. And I think like it's a beautiful way to also connect with people and show other people, I know this is hard, and I know what you're going through is what I'm going through. And the easiest way to convey that is through words, right? This sense of um, community and love and compassion comes from being able to convey. And I am grateful to have this medium, that God has blessed me with, to be able to take the emotions that I feel and really translate that into all the words that I have to get out. And honestly, I've had beautiful interactions as at a lot of readings where people have come up to me and just said, like, this is something I've been thinking about. I just didn't have the words for it. So that's something really beautiful to be able to do as a poet, who is also an activist.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I hope you guys can't wait either, but don't go anywhere, because when we return, Thahitun Mariam is going to perform everything that she was just talking about after the break. Don't go anywhere.